Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us during today's presentation. Before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to Danielle.
Thanks, Migdalia. Hi, everyone. This is Danielle Boudreau from HUCTW. I'm one of the staff organizers at the union and the recording secretary. Just wanted to chime in to welcome everybody. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to join us for this. This is part of our ongoing and really valuable partnership with the credit union, where we provide this financial education opportunity. And just want to especially thank the credit union for doing this for our members, and to particularly thank Migdalia and Sarah for their time. So thanks, everyone. Look forward to getting started.
Thank you, Danielle. And thank you, everyone, again for joining. My name is Migdalia. For those of you that have been a part of HUCTW for some time, I'm sad to not see you in person, but of course, we understand the circumstances. But I work at the credit union. I'm a community engagement manager, and I'm joined by Sarah Scruggs, who you will hear from towards the end of our presentation. She'll do the second half, but both of us will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to utilize the chat. So I'll get started with a little bit of the logistics. So as I mentioned, we do have an hour's worth of presentation. What we always will do is we will email the presentation to you. We have gone ahead and muted everyone to help reduce that background noise. But if you're having any issues hearing us, I would first recommend adjusting the volume on your end. But if that does not work, please let us know. As we know with the internet recently, it could be a little bit tricky. I say this as someone who at 8:28, her internet was working perfectly at home, and then it did not, so it stopped working. So I had to commute to a different location to be able to have internet today. So if something happens and you can't hear us or we lose connection, please bear with us as we find a solution. Just to make sure that you can all hear us, let's use the questions feature to let us know, where are you joining us from? This is always one of my favorite parts because our colleagues work so many different locations, live so many different locations. So please let us know using the questions or the chat feature, whichever one you prefer. Where are you joining us from currently? Ooh, West Virginia, Rhode Island. Oh, Newport, Rhode Island. That's beautiful. Boston, Lexington, Lincoln, Arlington. Wonderful. So thank you so much. Brooklyn. Oh, that's a special place in my heart. I am from Brooklyn, so that's a special place in my heart. Connecticut, Rhode Island, HKS. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see that we're all far, but yet we can all still be connected. Malden, nice. Thank you. As I mentioned, we are going to email you the presentation. We are going to email you the resources. We know that there's a lot of information, and thank you also for submitting questions before the presentation. We will try our best to answer all of the questions that were submitted, but there were many, so we may not get to all of them. But if there is a question that you have that we don't get to, just submit it via the questions panel, that the same way you let us know where you're joining us from. So if you submitted a question during registration and we don't get to it, again, feel free to use the questions panel. For those that may not be familiar, we are Harvard's not-for-profit financial institution. So what exactly does that mean? It's a very long way of saying that we are the same as a bank, except that we are not-for-profit. So we exclusively can serve the Harvard community. But the better part of it is that because we're a not-for-profit, our benefit, our profit is given back to our membership. And how do we do that? Well, we're able to offer lower rates on products. We're able to offer on loan products, higher rates on savings. We're able to offer customized programs, and specifically during COVID, and we'll give you the URL that you can go to on our website, but during COVID specifically, there was a lot that we've done. We reduced the rate on our personal loans. We've allowed members to skip a payment. We also have made other adjustments to essentially be able to better assist our membership, and that really is one of the benefits of being a not-for-profit. When everything started happening, senior managers, our different teams, everyone met and essentially said, okay, what can we do? How can we help? So on our website, you'll be able to get a little bit more information of the different options that we currently have available, but it is hucu.org/COVID-19-help. And Sarah did put that in the chat box so you can have that. And if there is something that perhaps isn't listed, but that you are a member, and if you need anything, feel free to reach out to our support center. We do have a team that is reviewing individual requests as they come in. Something else that I did want to point out during this period of open enrollment, for anyone that is interested in joining the credit union, if you join with the promo code BENEFIT, you're able to receive a bonus on your account, your checking account. There's much more information that we'll provide in the email that we send, but for those that are not members that are interested in joining, there is that also. So now that we've spoken a little bit about who we are and what we're going to talk about today, I do want to take a moment just to let you know that we are going to have another presentation in a couple of weeks that is focused on refinancing and debt repayment. So the same exact place that you registered for this one is where you will register for the other upcoming workshop. We will also include this in the email. So again, no worries about having to keep track of all of the different emails and URLs and such, but we wanted to let you know we are going to talk about refinancing and debt repayment briefly, but keep in mind that we have an entire session that's going to be focused on that later. So a lot of beginning information to get us all on the same page, and it also allowed those that may have joined a little bit later to now be able to be a part of the full presentation. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is, well, these are all the different steps of what we will be talking about today. But before we get into them, we wanted to do an overview just to tell you that we understand, we 100% understand that it is a very challenging time for many of us, if not all of us, whether that is for those that have been affected with their health, finances, and when I say health, mental health being a part of that as well. Maybe you haven't been affected by COVID, but there are mental health implications. There's so much that's going on, and we know that the finances is another layer of trying to manage everything. So our hope during this session is to give you some different steps to help put you in control and help guide you as to what are some of the things to consider during these challenging times. The first piece that I'm going to talk about is going to be identifying your financial goals, because for those of you that have attended other presentations that we've given, we will always talk about behavioral finance. We will always talk about the mind and money. We will always focus on that because it's like anything else in life. Technically, we know what we should do. We know that we should spend less. We know we should save more, but life happens. Other things will come up. Emotions affect our money decisions. So we will, throughout the presentation, always give you behavioral science information to try to make this, try to put you in control of essentially your money personalities. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the financial stats. And I will say this can be a little bit scary. We know that, but our goal is to help you, and we don't want anyone to feel after they do this, you know what, I am not feeling as happy. I thought I was going to be in a better situation. If you go through this presentation, you find yourself like, okay, this is not where I wanted to be. We will also give you resources to get additional support and additional help through this. We also are going to give you a lot of good resources so that you can empower yourself. And we're also going to talk about benefits and how you can utilize some of your benefits, including some through HUCTW that Danielle will talk about, how you can utilize those benefits to help you during these times and beyond. And then we're going to talk about, okay, what are the actual next steps that you're going to take? If you don't already, we recommend having pen and paper, because we are going to give you a couple of different tasks, and it would be good for you to write those down and then actually put them on your calendar. So the first step, and thank you, I do see that some questions are coming in. For the audio, I would say for the person that's having the audio issues, I would try to increase your audio, and I see that Danielle's helping, and then someone else is having issues with the chat or the questions panel. Depending on how you log in, and I'll remind folks, but depending on how you logged in, your questions panel will be either on the top navigation or on the right-hand side. If you're on a tablet, it may also be a little bit different, but essentially for questions, you will be able to chat directly. when we send a chat, it's going to actually appear in a different section. So if you're looking to submit a question, you want to look for the question panel. Thank you for, and please do continue to use the questions panel. Oh, wonderful. It looks like it's working now. So yes, please continue to use the questions panel. Thank you. Okay, so I will get us started with financial goals. So this is the first activity that I would like for you to take pen and paper, or if you are on, most of you may be on your computer, so maybe you open a Word document, but write down what is a financial goal that you have for the end of this year. And I cannot believe that the end of this year is basically next month, but let's say between now and then, what is a financial goal that you have? Everyone's financial goals will be different. And we know how it is with goals. You want to make them smart. So you want it to be specific, measurable, etc. I'm giving you the timeline. So I'm saying by the end of this year, what is a financial goal that you have? For those that are comfortable and want to, you're more than welcome to put it in the questions chat. We will not say who it is. For those that prefer to keep it private, that's completely understandable. But I would like for you to write a financial goal that you have for the end of this year. Once you've completed that, what is a financial goal that you have for next year, for 2021? Okay, I see some folks that typed in that to not spend too much on holiday gifts. That's a good financial goal. I would say for that one, maybe to give yourself a budget to specify how much you would want to spend on holiday gifts. Okay, I see someone else that said that they wanted to save $200. That's good. Yeah, that's very specific, measurable, and you have the time frame. Thank you. So why are we having you write these financial goals? The reason that we're asking you to take the time to write the financial goals, most people that are financially successful are so because they're putting a plan in place. It doesn't sort of happen accidentally. You're determined, okay, I want to reach X, and then you can create a plan around it. When it comes to behavioral finance, and as we talk about everything else that will come up in the next couple of slides, we're going to refer back to these financial goals. Oh, wonderful. I like seeing someone has to pay off half of their credit card. That's a wonderful one. Open an investment account, and for next year to save for graduate school. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these with you. And I'm confident that with the tools that we're going to provide and some of the resources, you'll definitely be able to get there. So when it comes to financial health stats, some of the things that we recommend is to review your budget. During these times, and now that, I forget how many months in at this point, but now that we're approaching almost a year within living under COVID times, most of our budgets have adjusted to the different expenses that we now have. Reduced commute costs for some of us, higher electric, and in the next couple of months, heating costs for some of us that are working at home. So all of these are budget changes that have occurred. Another piece, and this is going to be key, and we always speak to this, but in the past couple of months, we've seen the need of this, is emergency savings. Ideally, it is best to have 3 to 6 months of expenses. Now, we know that that is challenging. We know that not everyone, most of us, when we look at that number, it's a challenging number. It's not a number that you look at and you're like, oh, great, I can 100% save let's say it's $6,000, $1,000 a month. Yeah, I can save $6,000 in a month or two. No, that can be extremely overwhelming to go from 0 to 6,000. So when you're looking at your emergency savings, one of the behavioral economics tips that we have is to break it down into smaller goals. That is known as goal gradient. So instead of deciding, okay, I need to save 6,000 and sort of stopping there, think about, okay, I'm at 0. So I'm going to give myself a $250 goal, let's say maybe by the end of this year or January. That way, once you've reached that goal, you can then up it and say, okay, now I'm going to try to get to 500. And slowly you increase it in increments that are doable and not overwhelming to you. Another tip for your emergency savings account is to have it in a separate location that is not as accessible, to create friction, to create barriers for you accessing those funds. For some of you, that may mean putting it in a completely different account, financial institution altogether than your primary. For others, it may just be not linking it to your checking account, so you can't easily take from savings to put to checking. Some financial institutions allow you to hide accounts from yourself. That may be another option. I know that that's something that we do offer at the credit union with our accounts. Also, renaming the account. Once you rename accounts, you're less likely to spend money from those accounts because now you've created an emotional attachment to that account. To have a savings account that's just savings is very different than having a savings account that's, let's say we're saving for our financial goal. Some folks mentioned saving for graduate school. So if I'm saving for graduate school and I rename that account graduate school, if an opportunity comes for me to spend $50 on something that's not related to graduate school, I am less likely to go into my graduate school account and take the $50 out of that account because I've now had a vision, I've put my financial goal towards that money is for X. So I'm less likely to go in. So one of the next steps that we recommend, and I'm hoping you're taking notes, is renaming your savings account. If you have a savings account that's specifically for these different goals, go in and actually rename them. Another big one is to pull your credit score and your credit reports. We will talk a little bit about this in the upcoming slides, but right now you have access to pulling your credit score, pulling your credit report for free once a week. So you will have this information available to you. And for those that have a credit card company that provides your credit score, that is accurate. It is, however, depending on which bureau they're utilizing. So just scroll all the way to the bottom when you look at that credit score and see which bureau are they utilizing. They could be using TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You just wanted to see what is your credit score with that specific bureau. Estate planning, this is something that is never an exciting topic to speak about. It's something that we know is very sensitive, especially during these times. And we do recommend review this for yourself, review these for others in your household, have these conversations. Again, we know that it's challenging and it's difficult. As difficult as it is to have the conversation before, it becomes even more challenging after the fact. So definitely have these conversations. With the beneficiaries, I do want to point out, and Danielle, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but if you don't have the information, of course, you don't have to, but I believe for those that had Vanguard, when Harvard switched over to now TIA, the beneficiaries did not carry through. So I believe you have to go in and change that. I'm not sure, Danielle, if you have any more information regarding that.
That's my understanding too, just from getting my own notification from TIAA that needed to be done. I'm sure HURC, the retirement center, can answer even more detailed questions about that.
Thank you. So if anyone did have Vanguard, we do recommend going into TIA or contacting the Harvard University Retirement Center because that was not done automatically. I believe they couldn't. I remember speaking with someone at TIA about that. So highly encourage you to, if you haven't already, go in and update those beneficiaries. Risk planning, this is another way of saying insurance. Insurance, are you covered properly? We are during open enrollment period, which I believe ends today. Danielle or Sarah, feel free to correct me. Actually, no, I think it's tomorrow.
Today, end of the day today.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, it is very important. And you have to actually make the selections in PeopleSoft and then click confirm again, which is a place it can go wrong.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely remember that for mine. Like, you think you're done when you do it, but you have to go through all of this stuff. So definitely make sure if you haven't done that already, thank you. I have a couple other folks that did say it ends today. So thank you. Yes, please do that as well. But in addition to the benefits that you have through open enrollment for insurance planning, you want to make sure that your home is insured if you're a homeowner, car is insured, etc. The cost of insurance, we know that it's not an exciting thing. You don't want to have to pay for insurance. But on the other side, we've seen people that sometimes don't have insurance and then something happens and then the cost ends up being much more for them. Okay. I'm going to take a moment here. There was a question that came up regarding at what age is it appropriate to draft a will? Can you be too young? It really will depend on your situation, and if you have, so I wouldn't say it's based off of age, it's more based off of responsibility. Like, who do you have that may be dependent on your finances? So if you, or what assets do you have? So if you're in a situation that you have children, that you're married, that you have others that you care for, maybe it's elder parents or other family members, or maybe friends, someone else that is dependent on you, and you were to become unable to provide, that may be a great opportunity for you to go and get a will, so that if you haven't, well, when you pass, those assets can go to whom they should go to, and especially if they're going to be depending on you.
Migdalia, do you mind if I jump in? I'm getting a text from one of my coworkers, Laura, who's on the call, and made the good suggestion that on the theme of risk planning and insurance and all of this, one of the really important benefits that's available but optional for all of us is long-term disability insurance. And it doesn't happen automatically. You have to elect it, but it's incredibly valuable. We all have 6 months of short-term disability insurance as Harvard employees, but long-term goes beyond that, so that you'd have guaranteed income if you ever became disabled in such a way that you couldn't work. So if people don't have that, we think that's one of the most important and valuable ones to consider adding.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Yes, that's a really good one. Yes, it's something that, and I'm not as young as I used to be, but I always had it. It was something that is always recommended for me to have, because exactly because of what you said, after that 6-month period, you never know. Some other questions that came in, and I think Danielle or maybe even Laura might know about this. Also through open enrollment, you do have the option of choosing legal services benefit, and they do provide support for will. I don't know what the cost is. I don't know what the process is specifically to go through them, but I do know that that is another option that is provided through open enrollment period. And I want to say that the cost, I think it's around $10 or so a month, but I'm not sure if it depends on your income.
It's something in that neighborhood, Migdalia, and I can look up the figure and share it with people while we're talking.
Thank you, Danielle. Wonderful. I saw someone that said it's $15 a month. So thank you. This is one of the great things that I really enjoy about our community is we all are all able to help each other. So keep bringing up those questions, those comments, because together we can all help each other improve our finances. Financial health, another piece of this, and this is going to be really important for the interest rate for our next presentation, which will be about refinancing, is knowing what are your rates. And Sarah will talk a little bit about refinancing, so I won't get into it, but knowing your rates is going to be very, very important, especially during this time. And then tax planning. So what do we mean when it comes to tax planning specifically? There have been many changes to tax laws. I shouldn't say tax laws. There have been changes to certain, how much you can deduct for charitable contributions, how much you can potentially withdraw out of a retirement account. There have been changes, FSA, the fact that you were able to add additional funds to FSA. There have been changes to IRS, temporary changes to IRS tax laws that during these times you may be able to benefit from. The best source is always going to be a tax professional or the IRS website. The IRS website did do a good job, and when Sarah's presenting, I'll share the link, but there is a website on the IRS, a webpage that has a breakdown of some of the specific part of the CARES Act, of some of the different changes that can impact your finances. So this is something that I would recommend. Required minimum distributions have also been a little bit different as well. So this is additional information that we suggest you take the next steps to see if any of those would apply specifically to you. And that's also going along with the retirement accounts. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, because we know that right now, for most of us, it may not be realistic. Travel, again, most folks aren't traveling. The reason that we did want to keep this here is the importance of having a budget. And yes, the 50-30-20 is ideal, 50% towards needs, 30% towards wants, 20% towards savings. But right now that may not be doable. However, what is doable is to put together a budget and to make sure that your funds are aligned to what your financial goals are, and that you know what percentage of your income is being applied to the different categories. when we're thinking about what we can do now and how we can manage our money during these times, we need to know where we're starting. What is our starting point? So going through this budgeting process is going to help you see where there are opportunities for you to improve your finances. There is a handbook that is available under the handout tab. It is through our partners of Greenpath. It is a wonderful booklet. It is very detailed. So for those of you that want to go step by step and have the process of fully understanding, okay, where do I want my funds to go? How much of my budget is going to XYZ? It will walk you through the entire process. It's also very good if there's been a loss of income, if there's been a change of income, if you need additional help with planning during these times. We will also email you the link to it when we send you the email, but do keep in mind right now you can just go in and download it. So now that we know where our expenses are, a couple of different things that you could do is minimize the expenses, which I won't get into because Sarah will be talking about refinances and we have an understanding of need versus wants. But what I want to spend time on is deferring expenses and some different resources that may be available. So one of the things that I'm sure all of you that have student loans with the federal government are aware of, you are aware, and for those that don't, you may have heard that the federal student loans are currently at 0% through December. We do not know what is going to happen in January. There has been conversation of President-elect Biden has stated possibly canceling some loans, possibly, we don't quite know. Because we do not know, for those of you that have a federal student loan, this is probably not the time to think about refinancing or looking for lower rates. Because with the federal student loans, they're at 0, so you're not going to get any better rate than that right now. What happens in January, we don't know. So right now, for those of you that have those federal student loans, you're in a good situation to sort of hold on to them, but plan to make a payment in January. Plan to make a payment in February. We don't know what that will look like. What changes might actually happen. So when you're budgeting, especially during the holidays, we budget to have a payment put aside for your student loan repayment in January and February. Again, hopefully we get some good news that there will be some additional changes, but we're not sure about that. So I would hate for us to assume and then be in a situation that, oh, now I have to make X dollar payment and I did not plan for it. For those of you that have private student loans, with the private student loans, what you could do is, if you're in a situation that you're unable to make payment, contact the student lender provider and see what options they may have for you. As I mentioned at the beginning, and you can see in the chat, we do have some options for our members that are unable to make payments. Other lenders are also doing this. Credit card companies are also doing this. So if you have a credit card that you are unable to pay, or the interest rate, or I'll even take it a step back. If you are able to pay, but it's a higher rate, contact them. See if they can reduce the rate. Many credit card companies are doing this during these times. And again, we'll get into much more detail about refinancing with our upcoming presentation. Skip a payment is another option. This is an option that's available to our members. And if you're not a member, there's information on our website and we'll send you that as well. But if you are a member, you have the opportunity to skip a payment, meaning that if you have, let's say, a car loan and you're unable to make payment, you can defer that. So you can skip that payment and push it out so that if, let's say your loan, I'm just going to use very simple numbers for the explanation, mostly so I can track it in my head. So if your loan were to have to be done next month, let's say December 2020, you would be done with your loan. You could defer it so that it would be January 2021. So you can push it out a month. Depending on the situation, you may be able to defer it a little bit longer. For those of you that aren't members of the credit union, check with your other institution. I know it's very common for credit unions to do this, to have a defer payment or skip a payment option. But the for-profits may have it, but it may not be as common. So I would still recommend contacting them directly. There are a lot of benefits that are out there that understandably some institutions are not promoting because they may not be able to absorb the financial implications of everyone taking these benefits. So they're reserving those for those that actually are in need. As a result, you may not know of what options are available to you unless you give them a call, whether that's your credit card, your insurance. I'm on insurance providers. There were some that, because people weren't on the road as often, insurance costs dropped. Some people were able to get a refund. Some were able to have a credit applied towards an upcoming policy. If you haven't seen these and you have an auto loan, you have a car and you have car insurance, I would encourage you, again, give them a call. For utilities, Sarah's going to put in the chat a link to a PDF. It is pretty overwhelming, but once you get through, I would say probably there are a couple of pages that have very good details on discount rates for National Grid and Eversource customers. Both of the companies got together and they have been hosting webinars about all the different options available. So there are opportunities to have, and I'm just going to read through some of these, but again, the handout is going to be the best bet, but there are a couple of opportunities to get flexible payment plans in which you can have up to 12 months to pay your electric or heat. And these are the times our bills are gonna, for most of us, are gonna go up. It's cold, especially today. It's really cold out there. There are electric discount rates. Eversource has one that's 36% off, and their gas discount rate is 25%, as is for National Grid. And then National Grid has a 32% electric discount rate. And some of the people that could qualify, I'm not going to read the entire list because it is pretty long, but if anyone in your household has SNAP benefits, if there are veterans, if they have SSI, if they're on Mass Health, Head Start. So there are a couple veterans disability programs, if the students qualify for school breakfast or lunch programs. And they also will break it down based off of the annual gross income, depending on how many are in your household. So there are a lot of resources that are available. They've been doing their best to try to get this information to folks, but we know we don't read all of the emails that we get. So we understand if maybe you did receive an email, maybe didn't take a look. If there is someone in your household that qualifies for some of those benefits, you may want to take a look to see if you can get a reduction in your energy bill. And then the last thing that I have before I turn it over to Sarah is using the budgeting tool. I know that there was a question that came in about, let me see if I can find it, but there was a question that came in about how can I access a good Excel sheet to track my budget. We have a couple through Greenpath. We also have a couple on our page, and I'll provide the link. But if you go onto our website, www.hucu.org/hub, we have a budgeting worksheet there. But another piece that may work for many of us that we sometimes don't utilize are financial institutions. As at the credit union, we have a budgeting tool. You have to go on through the desktop version, typically, not just for ours, but for most financial institutions, you typically have to go through the desktop and set up the budget there or for the first time, and then it transfers into the app. So I would recommend starting with your financial institution to see what options they have. Because if you're primarily using your debit card or a credit card that's tied to one of your financial institutions, they have a lot of the data. So they may already have a budget set up for you. I know Bank of America does this automatically as well as some other financial institutions. And I'm just going to take a moment, and there were a couple of other questions that came in. Someone asked about refinancing a car. Sarah will talk a little bit about that shortly, so I'll turn it over to you now, Sarah.
Thanks, Migdalia. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We are glad to have this discussion with you. I always love presenting to my fellow HUCTW unioners because I feel like there's always such great conversation and we do learn from each other. So getting started, one of the things that's changed with the coronavirus is that our credit reports are actually more widely available for us to receive and to look through. Annualcreditreport.com is the only website that is authorized by federal law to give you your credit report. That doesn't mean this is the only website you can use, but that does mean that they do have to provide you with a free credit report, and they right now are doing it weekly all the way until April of 2021. And so if you've never looked at your credit report or seen your credit report, I really recommend that you go on annualcreditreport.com and check it out for the 3 credit bureaus. Doing this will not impact your credit score. I want you to know that because it is an educational thing for you. It is not you looking for new credit. So it's not a hard pull, but what we would call a soft pull, so that you can learn more about your finances and make sure that everything on there is something that you've done in the past or right now. And so maybe don't go every single week to pull your report. You totally can, but there may not be changes week to week. Where you would see the most change is probably about every 3 months, where things would be updated on there. So I definitely recommend pulling at least one of your credit reports about every 3-4 months if you can, especially once we go back to it being actually annual. And your credit report is different than your credit score. So you may get your credit score from your credit card company, like Migdalia said, but your credit report is like your transcript, whereas your credit score is more of your GPA. So it tells you all the reasons why your credit score is the way that it is. So now the all-important question of refinancing. Why are we talking about this when we're talking about managing your money during the pandemic? I think this is something interesting to point back to. We're talking about this because a lot of us hold loans, we hold debt. And there are ways right now, because a lot of interest rates are really low, there are ways that we can save money. And I know a lot of us are looking for ways, even just littlest bits of money, so that maybe, we can get our groceries delivered instead of having to go out to the grocery store. So we do just want to touch on this really quickly, but do know if you're looking for a more in-depth presentation about refinancing, our next presentation will be best fit for you. So there are personal loan rates out there, but what I'm going to actually speak about is the refinancing right now. Mortgage is one that a lot of people are asking us about. Rates probably are not going to go much lower than they are right now. So if you're thinking about refinancing, now is a great time to refinance on your mortgage. About 3% is what we're seeing. So if yours is higher than that, it may be a good time to start looking into it and seeing if the closing costs, do work out for you to save a little bit of money. Auto refinancing, someone asked about, is this a good time to refinance a car? At the credit union, our rate is 2.99% right now on refinancing an auto. So if you're a percentage above that, we say anywhere from about a 0.5% to a percentage above that, that's a good time to go ahead and refinance. So if that's where you're sitting, we are happy to help with that. And then student loan refinancing. I want to reiterate what Migdalia said. If you have a federal student loan right now, don't touch it. Do not refinance your federal student loan because you're at 0% interest. No private company can give you that rate. And you're in the best position to possibly get any benefits that may be coming in the future. So definitely think through any decisions you make about refinancing, run the numbers. If you're thinking about mortgage refinancing, ask a mortgage loan originator for help with running those numbers to see if it will actually benefit you. Because at the end of the day, all of these rates sound really enticing, but there are sometimes costs that add up around it. So make sure that you're factoring those in. The next step of this is empowering yourself. I loved some of the questions that we've gotten throughout this webinar because it seems like a lot of you already are doing this. You are looking, you're saying, is this a good time to refinance? Well, that means you've already empowered yourself enough to know that rates are getting lower. And so we do really encourage you to continue with that. Somebody said that they really hadn't had good luck finding a good budgeting worksheet for Excel. That's empowering yourself because you're going out there and looking for those resources. And that is the number one thing that we want to encourage you to do. You've taken the first step today by coming to this webinar and by saying, you know what, I do want to figure out how to manage my money during the pandemic. Because times are very uncertain. They're uncertain for you, they're uncertain for me. I can honestly say that. Every day brings something new, but the best way that we can be in control of situations that seem uncertain are to empower ourselves by learning. And by taking opportunities to learn more. And so how can we empower ourselves these days? Online education. There is almost nothing that I can say more than to say there are resources out there for you to learn more, but you have got to get those resources from a reputable place. So somebody blogging at like 1 a.m. may not be the most reputable source, but a financial institution putting out information on their blog is a reputable source. And if you're wondering about retirement plans or investing, the IRS is actually in charge of retirement plans. So if you have questions about that, you can go there. Obviously, at Harvard, we have great resources for retirement planning. So please use those because they are free resources for us. And investor.gov, a great place to go if you're just kind of a lot of questions we're asking about investing, and this is a great place to go if you have questions about that. We don't give advice on investing here at the credit union, so we do recommend that you see either a professional or start out on that website, investor.gov. St. Louis Fed has a lot of great information on their website as well, so any of the federal banks do have really good information, and that's from a reputable source. But what we really want to encourage is that you find your learning preference. We work with many different people across the spectrum. I know for myself, I listen to podcasts pretty much all the time now that I'm working from home. As I'm working, I pretty much always have something on in the background just to kind of hear. Normally, it's something silly and light, but if that's your learning preference to listen and learn that way, then find some good podcasts out there that are done by reputable sources. So that means they're done by financial institutions or financial nonprofits that can help you learn a little bit more. Maybe you really love watching YouTube videos. If you're like me, then you just like watching like unboxings or whatever. So maybe you can find some videos that are more high level about investing if that's what you're interested in. So go to a reputable source, go to banks, financial institutions, go to people who have their certified financial planner certificate. That is all extremely important. And then we just really recommend when you're finding that learning preference, try a little bit of everything. You never know what's going to really help you. That's going to really help you to see, okay, what is my learning, what is my learning preference outside of, work, where it's not really much of a preference. You just work because you have to, right? But now we have that option to choose when we're learning outside of work. So I definitely recommend trying a few of these. We do have a blog at the credit union. On this next slide, we've probably about 2 blogs a week recently about different opportunities for saving money, giving back during the holidays if you're in a position to do that. How is your credit score calculated? This kind of gives you more information, and you know it's from a reputable source here at the credit union. Just like Migdalia said earlier about saving energy, one of our most recent posts was about saving energy costs because we know more people are in their homes this year than ever. So I definitely recommend going onto our blog if you've never checked it out before, blog.huecu.org. You can subscribe if you'd like to get weekly updates on our blog, or just visit it whenever you'd like. Also, coming to workshops. We make sure that we have past workshops available on our website. So if you do go to huecu.org/workshops, all of our past workshops that we've done, probably in the past 5 to 6 months, are on there. So you can watch the presentation slides and read through the frequently asked questions on some of those. And then our YouTube page also has a lot of our webinars recorded. So if you're interested in hearing about a specific topic such as student loans or home buying, you can find some more information on our YouTube page. And what I do want to point out is that even if HUCTW does not have a specific webinar scheduled, you can go to our website and see if we have one scheduled with our full membership. And you are welcome to come to those and register for those as well, even if you aren't a member of the credit union. We want to make sure that our community is financially well. That's the most important piece of the puzzle for us. And so when you go to our website, you may see something that's not HUCTW specific. Don't hesitate to take some time and go through those. We also partner with Greenpath Financial Wellness, and they have probably a workshop maybe every other week these days. So they had a great one recently on holiday spending. So if you're interested in that, you can go to hbcu.org/greenpath and go to their website. Greenpath is a nonprofit that we partner with. They have certified credit certified credit counselors, excuse me, and they will look through your credit report with you for free. This is a service we offer to everyone in our community as well as everyone in their household. Again, we so strongly believe in making sure that our community is financially well. And so it's so important that you make sure to reach out for help if that's something that you need. But I like to think of Greenpath more as like a doctor's visit. Hopefully we're not only going to the doctor or dentist when something is going wrong, we're also going just to have a checkup and check in with them. And so maybe you want to build a budget for the first time and you're just not sure where to start. You can reach out to Greenpath and they can help you with that for free. They also do COVID-19 counseling for free. So if there are questions that you have about, something in the CARES Act or anything that they could help you with around COVID-19, they can be there for you. It is confidential. And they do have flexible hours. As we know these days, we have flexible hours more and more, so we need to make sure that our services do as well. So they have resources not only that way, but also through their website. They have a great blog too at Greenpath. So using your benefits, we have already had a great conversation about open enrollment, which does end today. So make sure you've done all of that in PeopleSoft. But I want to go through a couple of different benefits and perks that you may not know about. And if you do, great. If you have more to share, please write those in the chat. We'd be happy to share those with our colleagues. But of course, employer benefits, whether that be yours or maybe a partner or spouse that you're also using, make sure to take advantage of all of those benefits that come with it. One that we kind of forget about sometimes, I know I have within the pandemic, is outings and innings. If you haven't signed up for their emails that we receive weekly, I love getting those emails just to see what's going on and maybe spend some time outside at places that are safe for me to go and just seeing what's online as well. Financial institutions. We are not the only financial institution in the world that does projects like these or that does presentations or has a blog. So make sure that you use those benefits of financial institutions that you're a part of. I know for myself, my credit card company does provide me with my free credit score update once a week. And that is a perk that is definitely useful for me just to keep checking and making sure that my credit score is where I want it to be. So check out if you have some benefits through your financial institution. Health insurance. This year, we have received the great gift of being able to buy home gym equipment with our $150 Blue Cross Blue Shield reimbursement. So even if we're not making it to the gym, you can bring the gym to you. So definitely use those benefits if you're able to. And one of the newer benefits from Harvard is that 10% Happier app. This has been great, just thinking about mindfulness and all that entails. So I definitely recommend downloading the 10% Happier app. Even if that's something you would never do before, this may be a good time to try it. Credit cards. If you have a rewards credit card, I know I do, my rewards credit card is on travel. Well, that's a bummer. We're not going anywhere. So my credit card has actually pivoted themselves and they're starting to offer rewards for other things now. And so I've gotten to spend a little bit of my money on some Christmas shopping. And so being able to use those rewards for something else has really helped out. So maybe your credit card is doing something similar. Colleges and universities offer different perks like career fairs. I know for my alma mater, we have presentations once every month from different alumni in our network, and they also have, alumni visits in our different areas. So I recommend connecting with people through your alma mater if that's something you're really interested in. As well as a phone carrier, I know T-Mobile Tuesdays is something that's really popular. Verizon has, I know if you have like an unlimited data plan with Verizon, you may get Disney Plus for free, which parents, I definitely recommend. I absolutely recommend getting Disney Plus. If you're not a parent and you're just a person, absolutely recommend Disney Plus as well. So definitely use your phone carrier if there is opportunity to save a little bit of money. And thank you. I saw somebody say that the work life office has great mindfulness Zooms as well. Absolutely. We have great resources here through the Office of Work Life. So I definitely recommend that you use them. AT&T has discounts for cell phones. Great. I know that's through Harvard as well, I think. And then T-Mobile offers Netflix. That's pretty cool. That's all I do these days. So I definitely recommend checking out what your carrier offers specifically for you all. So we're already learning about all of these benefits and perks that we may have known about in the past, but maybe we don't know about. I definitely recommend just taking some time to look through your benefits that are offered to you. The next slide is about HUCTW funds and loans, and I'm going to have Danielle talk a little bit more about the funds and loans offered to you all as part of the union.
Thanks, Sarah. So everyone can see this screen, which is a screenshot of a page from huctw.org. So if you need to access any of this, quick and easy to get there. To start with our housing loan programs, this is a partnership between the union, the university, and the credit union. And the most commonly used is our rental transition loan. So members often need first, last, deposit, etc. And members can take this with 0% interest. So it is essentially free for you. There's a little nominal fee for originating the loan, but after that, it's completely free. It can be also really a good tool for building people's credit scores because repaying it on time, it's reported to credit agencies just like any other loan. We also have a home emergency hardship loan. Particularly around unexpected, unforeseen home emergencies. So if your water boiler dies one day, or if a tree falls on your house or across your driveway, or your heat fails generally, anything like that that sort of threatens the basic livability of your house is likely a fit for the home emergency hardship loan. Similarly, 0 interest, and that's usually homeowners, but occasionally renters who have sorts of, rental disasters that happen as well. The funds are differently structured. The funds come out of, every time we negotiate a contract with the university, we negotiate a pool of money to fund these priorities of childcare, academic enrichment, education, and transportation. Those are always available to members, and people should use them as much as they possibly can because it's all just free money for you. We're making a couple of changes this year around COVID, which are going to be just helpful all around to everybody. And there's more information coming on these COVID specific things for the funds, but for academic enrichment, we're making some changes to be able to support children's remote schooling expenses. And for transportation, we're going to do a special opportunity. Most of us have reduced transportation expenses right now. 85% of members are working remotely, but that 15% who are coming to campus, lots of them have newly increased transportation costs. People who switch to driving to avoid the T is the most common example, and we're going to have some money available that way too. So all of this is on huctw.org, and I can answer more specific questions here or by email anytime.
Thank you, Danielle. Always great to hear what HUCTW is doing for us as members, and I know that you all are working so hard to take care of us, so I appreciate that. So now it's time to actually do the hard work of taking the next steps on all of these. And I can already tell from people in the chat that they are ready to take the next steps. And so what we recommend is that you sit down. If you've never built a budget before, it's time to sit down and do that. And this budget is going to look very different than it would if life were just as it was in January, obviously. I know for myself, I'm spending a lot less on eating out and I'm spending a lot more on groceries because I'm cooking all of the time and I'm pretty proud of myself for cooking this much. But we need to sit down and actually think through what are my expenses and how can I make sure that my income can cover those things. And that takes some time to do. So we recommend creating your money strategy. We've already put up on through the chat where you can find our worksheets. And this is one of those, creating your money strategy. Excuse me, you go through a list and you're able to figure out, okay, these are my next steps for ways that I can make sure that I'm secure, and making sure that I'm set up to save money during this pandemic and be able to take care of my family, because that at the end of the day is what we all want to be able to do. So take some time, sit with building a budget, and then seeing if any of your loans need to be refinanced, doing that research, learning more, empowering yourself, making sure that you find at least one thing through what I recommend, find at least one way to learn more and empower yourself online, whether that be signing up for blog post alerts or a podcast that you really love. Find one way to learn a little bit more during this time. And then the last thing being researching those benefits. And I think Migdalia just put into the chat about Blue Cross Blue Shield benefit. But definitely research those benefits. It's going to take some time. So I recommend just taking some time out of your day, hopefully one of these weekends, and just sitting down and really getting started on all of these things. And motivate yourself by, being able to put up Christmas decorations if you're one of those people right after you do it or something of that nature. But do something to motivate yourself to get these things done, because you'll feel much better and like you're in a more secure place once it is done. If there are any questions that you all still have, we have about 2 minutes to take some of those. And if you do have questions and we're not able to get to it today, please know that we will be in touch with you in answering those questions, or you can always get in touch with us via our social media as well. So we are on social media and do some finance tips every once in a while on there as well.